Hi everybody, this is Pramita here, and today I'm going to show you a different kind of collage that I sometimes do. That's not my usual style, but I still do that. And this is going to be the first setup one. I have done a few pages. Just let me show you. Now again, this collage makes my stuff, like all the papers, pretty disorganized, and I don't like to do that. So I'm going to move my camera a little bit so that you get to see what I've been up to. And I'm just going to move this because I was playing around with this paper, and then I thought that even before I glue everything down, I should do a video. So I have done the random bits that you had seen before. Now sometimes the glue doesn't stick so well, so that's okay by me, because most of the time what I'll do is I'll sew around these sections, or maybe I'm going to do some Mod Podge, homemade Mod Podge, because I usually do that. So this is one of the pages that I've done, whereby I have mostly used a rectangular or square pieces of paper. Now this is going to look a little bit different once I finish everything, and today I'm going to show you the first step. I mean, the initial part that I'm going to show you is I'm going to add papers, and the trick to adding papers, creating an interesting background. First thing that we have to keep in mind is since they are mostly square or rectangle, they can be made interesting by adding at different heights. That creates a kind of layer sort of thing. And then what I've done after I have glued everything down, I have just used a wash of Mod Podge. I make my own version of a Mod Podge. I'll talk about that later on. It works fine for me, and you can go that route if you want to save some money. So this is another piece that I've done. So this was another page. So I had Mod Podged, and then I decided to take this out. It's like, yeah, so it was like this. Sorry. So it was like this, and then I just decided to take it out. So what I do is, after I have glued everything down, what I'm going to do, I take a light wash of Mod Podge. Now the concentration is 2:1. I usually do that, but you can simply water it down if you find your Mod Podge is a little bit on the heavier side. So I have just watered this down, and I don't want this to be gluing down everything, because I have already glued down. In case something hasn't stuck, I'm going to use this. Otherwise, this is just used as a sealant to so that everything is in its place and nothing is so I don't know if I'm making sense at all. So I'm just going to glue this, use this sealant after I have glued all the bits and pieces down, because what happens is sometimes the glue doesn't stick well. In that case, this will help everything to be adhered down properly, and also it's going to strengthen your paper a little bit. So it's going to work like this, and yeah, so it's going to be like this, and it's going to dry while I work on some other pages. So this page is nearly done. Now what we can do is, I can show you the basic thing that I plan on doing. So my Mod Podge is there, I don't mind. So this is the page that I've already Mod Podged. And what I can do is, I can simply cut this out into sections. I had talked about that. And I can make journal cards and tags and stuff like that. So what I usually do is I take a focal point. If you don't have a focal point, that's okay. You can make this work still. I'll show you how. I can't find my stuff. So what I need to do is, just a moment. Okay, so what I have here is a bunch of stuff. Now this is from Medieval Mirage, and even though I am not working on a journal from these papers, but I still would use them for collages and stuff like that. So what I like is, I like this frame, and I'm just going to snip this off, and I'm going to use this as a focal point. Maybe you don't always have to have, you know, some kind of journal card or ATC or anything of that sort. You can use anything for that matter, and this is just an example of that. So again, I have a mishmash of all sorts of things. I hope I'm in frame, and just let me check. Yeah, so again, I have all sorts of things, and I'm going to use this as a focal point, so I can use it over here. Yeah, so what I can do is, this is I think it's 5 by 7. Let me measure this out. 7 by 9, I think. Yeah, this was 7 by 9.5, so that's fine. So what we can do is, we can simply you know, half this, and I'm also going to show how this is just something so random. Okay, so I can just halve this section, and then I can you know, chop it off and add whatever I want to. So I can make this into a journal card like this, where I'm adding some frame like this. So I think I like this. Okay, so I'm going to snip this off, and after I finish everything, I'm just going to go over with my sewing machine and stitch around some of the edges of the, you know, the collaged papers. That's going to be later on, once I finish showing you what I'm up to. So this is one of the ideas that you can do with your collages, and I'm putting that aside because I'm going to show you in the second half of the video how they look after I've collaged. So one thing that I've already lined up is this sheet of paper. Now this is not in the exercise book, and that is only because I also wanted to show that the similar concept can be worked out on a single sheet of paper. This is an A4 sized copy paper, and I'm going to work on that. Now whatever pieces I'm going to use are going to be mostly rectangular. So because this works in all sorts of things, you know. You can use any jagged piece, or you can use any rectangular piece. So I had these papers. This is a printable from Artimaze, and I had these. I mean, I was not happy with the, you know, printout. I had messed up, so I wanted to use these up in my collages because that's what I generally do. So this is a part of an envelope, and I'm just laying this envelope down. As you can see, this is a rectangle, and in this method of collaging, we are only going to use rectangles and squares. We are not going to use any random you know, piece of paper like the previous one I had shown. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be like you know, some piece that will be more or less with angular edges. So I'm going to take this part off. I usually use a ruler, and these are some of the inkjet printed printer. You know, I had printed these out on my inkjet printer, and I'm not using inkjet papers, inkjet printer papers anymore. As I had talked before, I have switched over to digital printing. So that's that, and sometimes I do ink up the edges because they look a little bit washed out, but I'm okay with that because I know at the end of the day I'm going to use them as background collage papers. I'm not going to use them as anything else. So as you can see, I'm covering up some part of this first paper that I had used. I think it's from Patchwork Botanicals, one of Andrea's kits, and the images are so pretty to be used in collages that I didn't have the heart to throw them away. I decided to use them. So as you can see, I have created some rectangular elements in this, and I'm just going to use some bits and pieces, as you will see. I don't know, I kind of like it, but still I don't like it. So I'm going to, yeah, I'm going to use this part. So you'll see. So I'm going to use this part at the top, okay? And I don't want this white part, so I'm going to just use my scissors to chop this off. This is from Antique Papery. A while back I had bought some of her papers, among which this came. You know, these were bundle deals. She has these awesome bundle deals. So if you've not checked her shop out, I suggest you do, because they are pretty cost effective and the artwork is awesome. Yeah. So, and what I'm going to do is I'm just gluing this, and I'll lay this down. Yeah. And so I have everything laid up like so. And as you can see, it's now taking shape a little bit. I also have this butterfly image which I'm going to use up. So I'm going to trim this part, and these are all rectangular ones. You can do it in any method, and personally I usually do the the non-rectangular methods because I have so many papers that are non-rectangular, or all sorts of scraps that I would rather use them as it is. So I use those mostly, but then it's okay, you can do it this way also. And once I finish creating the background, I can, I hope this is visible. So this is done, and then I can add some book page. Again, these are all neutral things that you can add. They will help you to build a background for your collages. So I'm going to just see if this works. Okay, so I'm going to glue this part, and this gets finished very quickly. You can create a bunch of these kind of backgrounds and keep it, and then you can go use as you like it's up to you how you do that. So I'm not going to use anything up there. This is from Medieval Mirage, and I'm just trying to use some of her papers. These are very good for collages, I found, and very good for backgrounds, because they are very much in neutral colors. That's one thing I try to keep in mind, because if you have a neutral background, it becomes so much easier to add a focal point, and that can be done later on. So I'm going to add this part, so I can fix it over here. Okay, so I don't need the whole thing, as you can see. I'm just going to trim off from here, so I don't need this part, and I'm just going to take this off. I'm going to ink this part up because I don't like this much of white showing through. Nothing else. You can just skip this part. You don't need to ink, but I kind of like it, you know, sometimes. So I'm going to lay down this part. So I'm just going to. Now I'm not bothered if it covers some of the book page part, but as long as it looks interesting. So it's going to look like this, and I always try to overlap one of the you know, one or two of the papers so that they look pretty interesting. So what I do is, just as you have seen, like I have not covered this whole part and I've overlapped on this part, and this is at a different height. So this comes with a little bit of practice, nothing else. This is no rocket science. So I'm going to use again some of this paper because just as I said in my previous video, I'm trying to use up all these which are printed in my inkjet printer, and I am not thinking too much. As you can see, I do this pretty quickly and rapidly because this won't make much of a difference, because when you add a focal point, much of this is going to be covered up. So I'm going to lay this over here. I hope this is making sense. And I'll show what I will do after this. So I've finished this, and I might add this over here, or I might add this, you know, at a different height. That is interesting. So I can add that. So I will add probably this at this point, and as you can see, it's partly covered and partly open, and it's that interesting look that I want to go for. And then I also have, I'm not going to use this, I also have some other scraps of paper, but, like this one. I also can add this because this is a very neutral background, as you can see, and I'm going to glue this to only this part. So I'm just going to push this a little bit, and I'm going to trim off the extra part, you know, or I'm going to just take my ruler and do away with that. So I only have this part left where I can use, I can use this one, this box sort of thing. So I can just simply tear this off. Yeah, it appears to be very ruthless, you know, when I'm tearing off paper. That's the only way you can do this. Okay, so now I think I can use this. So I'm not using the full part, as you can see. I'm just using bits and pieces. So I'm just going to glue this up, not fully, but only parts of this. Okay, and I also want to take this off. Okay, so this looks like this. Yeah, so I want this to look like this, and I still have one small bit left over here. Sorry. So what we can do is we can just trim this part up. Okay, so let me have a sip of tea. Yeah. So I'm having some chamomile tea, organic one. You know, it's pretty late at night, and I hope it helps me to sleep well, because I do have some sleep. I can't say I suffer from insomnia, because that wouldn't be true. I can only say that I have some sleep issues, you can say. you know, these things just crop up in, and then they bother me so much. So this is another piece of paper that I have, and as you can see, it's not covering things up entirely, but that doesn't bother me, because I'm going to do it like this, and then there I can fix something, I can put something there. So I'm not bothered. I just want to glue this down. Okay, and that can be like this, and here I can put a bigger piece from somewhere. So this is another piece of paper that I have, you know, the top of the envelope part. So I can do one thing, I can just trim this off, okay, and I can make this into a tiny square and then glue it over here. So again, this is all, you can do the same thing with triangles or circles, you know, just to make your background more interesting. You can be more creative with it, but I prefer to stick to either a random tearing of paper or using rectangles and squares and stuff like this. So I've finished the background, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to seal the background, you know, the 2:1 thing that I have used, and I'm just going to go inside those cracks and crevices, the, you know, the joints, so that they are glued down properly and they don't go anywhere. And also because you know, it adds strength to the paper, it, you know, helps to play around more, you can say, with this, because I'm going to add layer to this maybe, if I decide, otherwise it's okay. Like I can stick to, okay, I can just add some more glue, and so I'm going to just seal the whole thing. And whenever my you know, homemade Mod Podge gets a little bit thicker, what I do is I add more water and then I dilute that. So it's going to look like this, and then I'm going to let this dry, and I'm going to make journal cards or something out of this after it dries. So I'll be back to show you after it has dried how it looks and how I'm going to transform this into something else. So the first part ends here, and the second part I'm going to show you how I come back. Thank you everybody for watching this. Bye, have a great day. So now these pages have dried, and I am going to show you how I trim these up and make them into journal cards. I did show something similar in my previous video, but that was then, and this is now. So this is like I have sliced open one of the pages. Sorry, it was like this. So I thought I'd just take you along and show you how it looks. This is a kind of packaging that I had. This is a washi tape that I had put down on a piece of paper, and these are all misprints and you know, some scraps, some, you know, mailers that came. So that's how I'm doing this, and again I'm going to just fold this and see how much I can get. I'm just going to get this. Okay, so this is a little bit more than 4.5. I don't mind. So I'm going to trim this off, and now I have 2 journal cards. As you can see, you can keep them as it is if you so like, but of course I'm going to add something to this, me being me. So I'm going to trim this, and I'm going to stitch around them, and I'll be back to show you after I slice everything up how they are going to look. So I'm going to just take these off. Now these jagged edges, of course, they will have to go, and I'm going to ever so slightly trim them up because I don't want to make them too small. So I'm just going to take off the jagged edge. this was in the notebook, you know, this is the notebook one, so I need to fix this. So I'm going to take off this jagged edge, sorry. And so this came from the notebook again, and I'm going to show you another one also. So I'm going to go and stitch around and show you how they look eventually. So so again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slice this up into half. Now this is around 9 inches, so, and this is around 7 inches, so I'm going to make this as 3.5, a little more than 3.5, because this needs to go this edge. So I'm going to make this like so. So some are going to be a little bit flimsy because of the dense, you know, the thickness of the paper. That's okay, because once I layer this up with again some tea stained papers, they are going to be fine. So this is like 7 inches. So I'm going to take this as a 3.5. Okay, so you have these journal cards, and you can make them ahead of time, bunch of these, you know, and then when you need, you can just dig into your stash. They can also be good pockets. In that case, you can just cut them in any fashion you want. You can make them in rectangles and whatnot. So again, I'm going to you know, cut this up. So I'm going to cut this up, and as you can see, this is going to be like this. So I have this, and I need to trim this side, though that's one of the reasons why I have left some extra bits. So so I'm just taking this off. So you can find these coming off a little bit, but remember, I'm going to stitch, so it doesn't bother me that much. So I have these done. As you can see, I have used 3 sheets of you know, this notebook page, the one that I'm using, and I have around 12 journaling cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and I can make more from this printer paper that we had worked yesterday. Now this is 8.5 by 11.5, so I can just simply either cut it into half and then slice it, or I can make it into tags. So what I can do is tall tags. So what I can do is around 3.5 is too big. 3 I think is a cool size. Yeah, so I'm going to keep it 3. Keep it at 3. So I'm going to slice this. So this is a good size, you know, and you can, of course, I'm going to back this up, and if you want, you can put some stuff like images there. So I'm going to make around 4 tags from one page. Hopefully it won't be 4 tags, all wrong information. So I have these 2 tags, and they are cool as it is. Like if you don't want to put anything, that's fine, that's okay, and if you want to, then that's okay too. So that's totally up to you. Like this is like 6, nearly 6, so I can make 2 more, but one will be a little thinner, little bit on the thinner side, so I can just squeeze in 2. So here I have 2 more. So you have 4 large tags, and if you want, you can just cut them into half and make them into smaller tags. So I'm not doing that now. Maybe if I decide that I'm not going to need such big tags, I might chop them off, but that's another story altogether. So I'm going to come back and show you after I've stitched everything how they look. So this is going to be this part. Hi everybody, so this is Pramita here, and I am back to show you the results after sewing. I'm sorry if you hear the banging noise because I live in a big apartment, and there's always some kind of work going on. You know, it's pretty irritating at times, but that's how life is. So so here I have those, you know, cut down pieces which I have not stitched yet. And I'm going to show you the stitched ones that I have done. So this is like a before and after, you can say. So they look like this, very generic, nothing specific. And once I stitch them up, they are going to look like this. So let me give you a good view of this. Let me move the camera. And yeah, so once I stitch them up, they are going to look like this. So as you can see, I have kept it pretty neutral, and I've just this is kind of a paper quilting, you know, and I stitch these up and then I back them because I don't want the jagged stitches at the back, so that you can use them as your journal cards. And you can use a lot of things just to jazz them up a little bit. Now in this part, I'm not going to do any kind of decoration, and I'm not going to give you any ideas apart from showing you these. But if you want to see how I decorate these, because I don't decorate them ahead of time too much, sometimes what happens is when I'm working on a theme journal, I would like to work with that kind of element. Like if I'm working on a bird journal or a butterfly journal or a botanical journal, I'd like to keep it that way. You can also use book page, you know, images, quotes, labels, a lot of stuff, and even die cuts. You can also use, I do have some squares like this, so you can use them like this one. You can use it over here just to make it pop a little bit. So you can stitch around this separately and then glue it over here. That's what I usually do. So I'm not going to do that, and because I don't know where I'm going to use these. Of course, they're going to go into the journals, and then you can use something like this over here, or you can use you know, floral kind of thing. I just want to show you. Let me dig into my stuff. You know, so this is where I keep my ephemera. This is like a random ephemera bin that I have, and whenever I need ephemera, I dig into this. So yeah, like if I need something, like suppose I have this journal card or label or whatever, I want to use it like this, so I can use it like so. So if I'm working in a botanical butterfly journal, I'll use this, you know. This works for me. So similarly, if I have I had some die cuts over here, not die cuts but some fussy cut out elements. Now I can't seem to find them and they lost in this pile. It's pretty irritating because when I can't seem to find what I need, it really bugs me. As I know most of you would agree with me, so you can add a faux stamp or a real stamp for that matter if you have. So you can add like this, and I'm still looking for that die cut, you know, and it's pretty so it's pretty big, so I can add something like this over here, and it instantly gives a pop. So I'm just giving you some ideas whereby you will know how to decorate these. Or if you want, you can leave them as it is. You know, you just don't need to decorate too much because you already have a background going. So here I have a small die cut which I can use over here, you know, and then I can fix a label over here or some quote. It just goes from here. So this is the basic thing that you can do, and then you can take it to another level by adding trims. punched elements, die cuts, lace, images like this, small images like this, or you can even tear this up a little bit and place it over here by inking the edges. That would work too. So you can do it that way also. It depends, what are the things that you have. Just use your stash basically, and you can, if you think a little bit, then you will come up with ideas which are very suitable. And there's lots of inspiration on YouTube. You can just check those out and see how things go. So you can even add words like this, friends. You can add a picture of something. Yeah. So if you want to see me decorate these, then of course I would like that you comment below. You can even add some fabric stamped image that I have. You can add that over here, and then you can add this sticker, friends. So it's from here to somewhere, it works in different ways. You can take it to a different level. It's totally your creativity which can take this to another level. So you don't need to work much, but the basic thing that you are working on, like the base that I have, is already done. So it's easier when you're working on a theme journal. You already have your bases done. You just need to put some images or some labels and you're good to go. So I hope you like this collage quilting sort of thing, paper quilt. This takes a little bit of time rather than the jaggedy edge ones that we had done before. So I'm yet to stitch all these, and once I finish, of course, I'm going to post an update on Instagram, because that's where I'm most active, I think, most proactive. Yeah, so if you want to see, maybe I'm going to do another part where I can show you how I decorate these with bits and pieces. So if you want to see that, then comment below and I can do the next part, because if you don't want to see that, then there's no point in doing it. Okay, so that's it, and thank you everybody. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I don't know whether I'll be able to do another video in between Christmas and New Year. I don't know for sure, because I'll be working on my design team projects for the next month, and life is kind of crazy around this time, as you people know. So with all sorts of holidays and all things going on, so I am not sure, but I'll try and upload something or the other, like on some journals that I'm working, or some craft with me sort of videos. But if you want to see how I decorate these journal cards, I can do that too, because I'm going to make a bunch of these and build up my stash. Also some pockets that I'm making from book pages, and some inserts that I plan on making, like Patricia Veramonte, very similar to hers. So if you want to see those kind of videos, just comment whichever ones you like, and I'm going to try and upload that. So bye everybody. Thanks for subscribing to my channel, for sticking around and giving me so much of inspiration to go on this YouTube journey, and supporting my shop. So have a great New Year and Merry Christmas.